Oh, live from the Gulf region, Republican representative from Indiana and chairman of the American Energy Solutions Group, Congressman Mike Pence. He's in New Orleans to see firsthand how the region's been impacted by the oil spill. Mike, why don't we talk about the economics of it first? Obviously, in my old district, Pensacola, Florida, that region, they are devastated economically by this oil spill. What do you find in New Orleans?
Well, what we're finding is obviously the tourism industry in Mississippi and Florida have been dramatically impacted. But here in New Orleans, what we heard last night when we talked to locals, when we met with BP officials, is that here, which is really the center of the oil production economy, that not only has the oil spill and its impact really devastated this area, but frankly, the Obama administration's moratorium on drilling is killing jobs in this region. We'll meet this morning with Professor John Mason, who produced a comprehensive study that said that in the Gulf of Mexico at large, there's more than 8,000 jobs that will be lost in the 6 months just directly related to the moratorium on drilling. I don't think it can be justified any longer. We fought last week for a wholesale lifting of the moratorium, but thanks to the use of dispersants and aggressive action in the water, it looks like we're mitigating the impact on the environment. So it's going to be able to recover, but we don't know if the economy is going to be able to recover with this moratorium, Joe.
You talk about dispersants. Obviously, those of us that live in the Gulf region were concerned by the fact that I think they were pumping in almost 1 million gallons of dispersants in the Gulf of Mexico. The president put a stop to that, and then we found out that Thad Allen, in effect, ignored that and continued the use of dispersants every day. Are you not concerned by the fact that we pumped all of these chemicals into this ecosystem and the impact, the long-term impact that'll have on the region and America's seafood supply?
Well, let me say, the briefing that we received yesterday with BP officials was very consistent with what the EPA put out yesterday, and that was that the dispersant, known as core exit, does not represent a significant threat to the environment. And frankly, the fact that Thad Allen
wait. Who told you that?
Made a play call.
I mean,
the EPA yesterday.
Mike, who told you that? Because we've talked to these people, and not a single person can give us one study that shows that this might not have a bad impact on the environment, because they said nobody ever presumed they would be using and dumping this many gallons of chemicals into the Gulf.
And in fact, Joe, there are scientists saying that it actually does have a very adverse effect on the environment, and they're coming forward along with teams of attorneys.
So do you trust BP's word for it on this?
Well, no, I trust what the EPA said yesterday when they said that, in fact, the use of core exit in the region did not represent a significant environmental hazard, and certainly not as great a hazard as potentially 5 million barrels of oil going into the region. I mean, look, this core exit basically operates the same way the detergent in your sink when you're doing your dishes operates. It breaks up the oil and gets it to a place where biodegradation can happen, and the absence of significant tracts of oil being able to be found at this hour is widely credited, what we're hearing, with the aggressive use of dispersants. The EPA delayed the use of dispersants for about 3 weeks, but thanks to Thad Allen's decision-making process, it was approved, it was put forward, and so frankly, Joe, I think the use of dispersants is one of the reasons why we're going to see a significant mitigation of the impact on the environment. But again, I want to go back. What you hear down here in New Orleans is the moratorium is killing jobs, and the Obama administration's got to lift it now.
Let's talk. And by the way, maybe it broke up the oil spill. I just don't soak my shrimp in detergent, so I may not be eating shrimp for a while. I want to talk about the president's speech yesterday, though. He was talking about okie dokie and Republicans trying to bamboozle people. It sounded like a junior high speech.
No.
But he talked about how the Republicans wanted to put the car in reverse. give Americans listening to you today a vision for America that is different from the vision that George W. Bush had for America, because their argument is that you guys are all just George Bush clones.
Well, look, Joe, you've known me for a lot of years, and, you know, I will always hold the view that history will record that the American people did away with a tax and spend government, and then under the big government republicanism of the Bush years, we were a tax cut and spend government by the time Bush took office. The vision for Republicans going forward is to produce pro-growth tax policies that will get this economy moving again, but to really practice what we preach about fiscal discipline and entitlement reform. I mean, the truth is we grew government, we grew deficits under the Bush administration. You know I fought against those things vigorously, Joe, as you did on the airwaves. It's got to be different. We can have pro-growth tax relief going forward, but we've got to get back to basic spending discipline and the principles of limited government.
And that is a radical difference from what Republicans did from 2001 to 2008, and that is a difference. Hey, let's go to Luke Russert. He's got a question for you, Congressman. Luke.
Mr. Pence, we're outside of the Capitol, so I can ask this right now. You're down there in the Gulf, seeming to build a national profile, if you will. Is this in regards to a possible dark horse run of the presidency in 2012?
Well, I'm humbled by the inference, Luke, but the Republican leader tapped me a year and a half ago to lead the American Energy Solutions Group for Republicans. I'm down here with Charlie Dent of Pennsylvania, Pete Olson of Texas, and local Republicans, because we want the American people to know
but it's not bad being from Indiana.
We're opposed to this job-killing moratorium.
It's not bad being from Indiana talking about oil and national TV.
And we have solutions.
Okay. It's not bad being from Indiana and talking about the Gulf. It's not bad being from Indiana and talking about the Gulf disaster on national TV, though, correct?
Well, let me tell you, Luke, I think every American is concerned about the impact on the environment here. They want to know what the Republican plan is, and they want to see everybody in government committed to restoring the environment of this region. But I also want to tell you, and I'm sure we'll hear today from Billy Nungusser and local officials, this Obama administration's moratorium is killing jobs in the region, and it must be lifted now.
All right, Congressman Pence, thanks so much for being with us this morning. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon. When we come back, we'll talk more about the use of those disparants. Our next guest says BP is in fact making things worse.